Hi, welcome to my next video on Azure fundamentals. This is related to section resources and the resource group. This is continuation of my previous video, and here we are going to see 20 questions in within 20 minutes time. Let's get started. The first question: Dash maintains relationship with resources even after deployment. Azure Blueprint or Azure Resource Management template, both or none. The right answer for this question is Azure Blueprint. You have to understand the concept behind Azure Blueprint. Let's see why we selected the option A. Azure Blueprints enable quick creation of governed subscriptions. This allows cloud architects to design environments that comply with organizational standards and best practices, which enable your application team to get to the production faster. Azure Resource Management Template, otherwise called as ARM template, is a document that doesn't exist natively in Azure. Each is stored either locally in your machine or in the source control as a template. The template gets used for deployments of one or more Azure resources. But once those resources deploy there, no active connection or relationship to the template. However, with Azure Blueprints, the relationship between the blueprint definition, what should be deployed, and the blueprint assignment, what was deployed, is preserved. This connection supports improved tracking and auditing of deployments. And that's why option A is the right answer. Next question. Tags applied at the resource group level are propagated to resources within the resource group. Is it true or false? The right answer for this question is false. Let's see the reason. Resource tags are not inherited by default from resource group. As such, applying a tag on the resource group level will not affect the resources within the resource group. Next question. Your company has several business units. Each business unit requires 20 different Azure resources for daily operation. All the business units require the same type of resources. You need to recommend a solution to automate the creation of Azure resources. What should you include in your recommendation? Option A, resource Azure Resource Manager template. Option B, PM scale set. Option C, Azure API management service. Option D, management group. The right answer for this question is option A, that is Azure Resource Manager template, otherwise called as ARM templates. Let's see the reason why we selected this option. Azure Resource Manager template helps in defining the resources in a special form of template. It's a kind of JSON file format. You can either locally save it or version control it and use it as many times while creating the resources as you like in the format and specification. And that's why option A is the correct answer. Next question, true or false? By creating additional resource group in an Azure subscription, additional costs are incurred. Is it true or false? The right answer for this question is false. Let's see the answer. Resource groups do not incur any cost unless you add resources to do it. It is just a placeholder. And so the right answer for this question is false. Next question. You have a resource group named RG1. You need to prevent the creation of virtual machine in RG1. The solution must ensure that other objects can be created in RG2. What should you use? Just read the question again. You have to prevent only the creation of virtual machine. However, you can create other resources inside that group RG1. So how do you handle this situation? Option A, using a log. Option B, an Azure role. Option C, a tag. Option D, an Azure policy. The right answer for this question is using an Azure policy. Let's see the reason. Azure policies can be used to define requirements for resource properties during deployment and for already existing resources. Azure policy controls properties such as types or location of resources. It is a service from Azure that you can use to create, assign, and manage policies. Those policies enforce different rules and affect your resources directly. So those resources stay compliant with your corporate standards and service level agreements if you make the policies proper. So in this question, we would create an Azure policy assigned to a resource group that denies the creation of virtual machine in the resource group. You could place a read-only lock on the resource group. However, that would prevent the creation of any resources in the resource group, not only the virtual machine. Therefore, an Azure policy is a better solution. Next question. You create a resource group named again RG1 in the resource Azure Resource Manager. You need to prevent accidental deletion of the resources in RG1. How will you achieve it? Option A, policies. Option B, properties. Option C, logs. Option D, automation scripts. The right answer for this question is option C, that is through logs. As we have seen in the previous question, let's see the reason. You can configure a lock on your resource group to prevent the accidental deletion. As an administrator, you need to lock a subscription or resource group or a resource to prevent other users in your organization from accidentally deleting or modifying critical resources. Next question, true or false? You can add an Azure Resource Management Manager template to an Azure Blueprint. Is it true or false? The right answer for this question is option A, that is true. So let's see the reason. You can configure a lock on a resource group to prevent accidental deletion that we have seen in the last question. As an administrator, you may need to lock a subscription, resource group, or resource to prevent the users in your organization from accidentally deleting or modifying the critical resources. You can set the lock level like cannot delete or read only. In Portal, the locks are all called delete or read only separately. Here, as part of this question, you can create an Azure as resource management template and then assign it to the Azure blueprint that will ensure that your resources are all uniformly deployed whenever you need. And after the deployment, Azure blueprint has an ability to track what was deployed and what is actually there. So such kind of tracking will be there. And so the right answer for this question is option A. Next question, true or false? You can assign an Azure blueprint to the resource group. That's a reverse way. So the right answer for this question is option B, that is false. Let's see the reason. It's on the other way. That is Azure resource group or ARM template shall be assigned to Azure blueprint and not on this way as stated in the question. Next question, Dash provide organization with the ability to manage the compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscription. Is it resource group or management group or Azure policies, Azure app service plans? The right answer for this question is Azure policies. Let's see the reason. Here we are talking about compliance of an Azure policy definition. Usually it's created by the Azure policy. It's a kind of rule about specific security condition that you want get it controlled. Built-in definitions include things like controlling what type of the resource can be deployed or enforcing the use of tags on all the resources. You can also create your own custom policy definitions which is related to rules or policies. And so Azure policies is a close answer. Next question. Your company has an Azure subscription that contains resources in several regions. You need to create Azure resource that must be used to meet a policy requirement. What should you create? Option A read-only lock. Option B, an Azure policy. Option C, a management group. Option D, a reservation. The right answer for this question is an Azure policy. Let's see the reason. Azure policies can be used to define requirements for resource properties during deployment and for already existing resources. Azure policies controls properties such as types or location of the resources. And so option B is the right answer. Next question, your company has several business units. Each business unit requires 20 different Azure resources for daily operation. All the business units require the same type of Azure resources. You need to recommend a solution to automate the creation of the resources. Option A, Azure Resource Manager template. Option B, Virtual Machine Scale Set. Option C, the Azure API Management Service. Option D, the Management Groups. The right answer for this question is option A, that is ARM templates. Let's see the reason. Azure Resource Manager template or just a kind of JavaScript object notation or JSON files that define the infrastructure and the configuration for your project. The template uses declarative syntax, which lets you to state that you intend to deploy without having to write the sequence of programming commands to create the resources. In the template, you specify the resources to deploy and the properties for those resources. It provides uniformly that that can be used across the business unit. And so option A is the right answer. Next question, Dash is a common platform for deploying objects to cloud infrastructure and for implementing consistency across the Azure environment. Is it Azure policies or Azure resource group or ARM template or management groups? The right answer for this question is it is ARM template. Let's see the reason. The ARM templates, as we have seen, it's a JSON file using which you can create templates that contain the resource definition. It's nothing but an infrastructure as a code. It becomes it will become part of your code. Just like an application code, you can use it as many number of times as you want in order to create the resources uniformly across your deployment. And so option C is the right answer. Next question, true or false? If you assign permission for a user to manage a resource group, the user can manage all the Azure resources in that resource group. Is it true or false? The right answer for this question is yes. Let's see the reason. A resource group can be used to scope access control for administrative actions. By default, permissions set at the resource level are inherited by the resources in the resource group. And so option A is the right answer. Next question. Your company plans to migrate to Azure. The company has several departments. All the Azure resources used by each department will be managed by the department administrator. What are the two possible techniques to segment Azure for departments? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Option A, multiple subscription. Option B, multiple Azure Active Directories. Option C, multiple region. Option D, multiple resource group. There are options like A and B, option B, A and C, option C, A and D, option D, C and D. The right answer for this question is option C, that is multiple subscription as well as multiple resource group. Let's see the reason. An Azure subscription is a container for Azure resources. It also has a boundary for permission to resources and for billing. You are charged monthly for all resources in the subscription. A single Azure tenant can contain multiple number of subscriptions. And here, the using multiple number of resource group, you can also do control of your departments. And so option A and D are the right answers. Next question, there is an underlined word, reserve groups provide organization with the ability to manage compliance of Azure resources across multiple subscriptions. The word resource group is underlined here. The instructions are review the underlined text. If it makes statement correct, select no changes required. If the statement is not correct, select the answer choice that makes the statement correct. You have an option like no changes required, option B management group, option C Azure policies, option D Azure app service plan. The right answer for this question is again Azure policies. As we have seen many times, let's see the reason. Azure policies can be used to define requirements for the resource properties during deployments and for already existing resources. This policy controls properties such as types of the resources or location of resources. Azure policy, again, it's one of your best service from Azure that you can use it for your compliance requirement. And so option C is the right answer. And here is the next question. You have an Azure environment that contains 10 web apps. To which URL you to connect to manage the Azure resources? To answer, select the appropriate option in this answer area. Is it admin.azure.com or portal.azure.com or portal.microsoft.com or admin.microsoft.com? The right answer for this question is portal.azure.com. It's self-explanatory. However, let's see the reason. This Azure portal, it's a kind of web-based management interface where you can view and manage all the resources in one unified hub, including web apps, databases, virtual machine, virtual network, storage, and Visual Studio team projects. And so the right answer for this question is option B. Next question. True or false? Azure resources can only access other resources in the same resource group. Is it yes or no? Right answer for this question is no. Let's see the reason. A resource can interact with the resources in other resource groups also. And so, the right answer for this question is no. I just reiterate my answer. Answer for this question explanation. Azure resources can access other resources in the same resource group and also the resources in the other resource groups based upon the access permission. Next question. If you delete a resource group, all the resources in the resource group will be deleted. Is it yes or no? The right answer for this question is yes. Let's see the reason. Deleting the resource group will remove uh, all the resources inside that resource group. This can be useful for the management of the resources. For example, if you have a virtual machine, have several components like VM, virtual disk, network resources, and other interconnected resources. Deleting the resource group will make sure that all resources, including orphaned or zombie resources, that are all deleted. So it is easy to maintain. And so right option for this question is option A. Next question, true or false? A resource group can contain resources from multiple regions. Is it yes or no? The right answer for this question is option A, yes. Let's see the reason. Resources from multiple different region can be placed in the resource group. The resource group only contains metadata about the resources that it contains. And so the right answer for this question is option A. Next question, true or false? You can create a resource group inside of another resource group. Is it yes or no? The right answer for this question is no. Nesting is not allowed. There is no provision in the user interface of Azure to mention about the resource group name while creating the resource group. And so option B is a right answer. With that, I will close today's session. Thank you very much, and I hope this video is helpful to you for your interview or examination preparation. If you like that video, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell. And you will get notified whenever I will publish a new video. Once again, this is not the end of the session. We are going to continue our session in a new section sometime down the line. Till then, stay safe. Bye now.